And that's true. Teachers fail on an everyday basis. I don't have any magic tricks. I think it's good advice, okay?
Please write it down.
Yeah, write it down.
And I'll check next year.
Exactly.
So here we are at BKC.
Yes.
Hello.
Again?
Again. No, actually, I have this memory of being here around 4 years ago. I came here. I applied for the Delta preparation course. And this is when I met you for the first time. It was a tiny room and I remember you asked me, and it was 2 years after my CELTA, and you asked me what task-based learning is.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I definitely said that it involves a task, and there is some learning happening
Some
there.
kind of learning.
And you didn't like my answer very much. No, I mean, obviously. Anyway, today is my turn to ask questions. And yay!
Your revenge.
No, you were kind, you were gentle, yeah. So I'll be too. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you for inviting us, and for not just me, but my colleagues as well.
There's this amazing profile you have, the website of the conference. Yeah, it says you do so many things as director of studies. You started here at BKC 19 years ago, right?
In 2000.
In 2000. Wow.
Yeah.
So you started as a teacher.
Yeah. I started, I did my CELTA here, and that was my starting point, and then I applied for a job.
I see.
As a teacher,
as a teacher, yeah. And now as a director of studies, you manage people, you do some teacher training. Do you teach, people?
No, people no. I only teach teachers.
Yeah, but it also says on this website that teacher training is your favorite thing. Why?
I think it is about people, and I've developed to a teacher trainer. It was a long way, of course, and there's lots of stages and everything. And I love teachers. I love working with teachers. I think teachers are amazing because they are curious. They're always young. Their eyes are always shining. They're open-minded. And I work with an international team, and in an international team of teachers, and it's amazing because it's a variety of context, variety of cultures. I think it's never boring. It might be challenging, but it's never boring.
Right.
Because teachers are never boring.
Oh, teachers are never boring. That's true.
They're sometimes bored.
Yeah, tired. Yeah, I won't say tired.
Yeah,
Never bored, but tired. Yeah. Do you have any, I don't know, teacher training situations when something went terribly wrong, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Every day.
Really?
Not terribly wrong, but I remember one of the teacher development videos where the guy was saying something about CPD, about professional development, and whether teachers should stop learning at some point.
Yeah.
And he said, this is a kind of profession where you are either retire or die. And
which one to choose?
Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, no, I'm not ready for either. That's why you need to continue developing.
I see.
And he was also saying that we fail on an everyday basis, and that's true. Teachers fail on an everyday basis. Small little failures, but these failures are steps forward, and that's why it's great. We need to remember that we're not perfect, and we always need to develop something, and we need to learn. But your question was about something like terribly wrong. Of course, we're talking about small things.
Yeah.
But something terribly wrong. There are two perspectives that you can look at it. Like, for example, I do lots of training courses. I run lots of training courses, lots of presentations or conferences or whatever. Training sessions, and you can look at it from the presenter's point of view. And I had some failures, some big failures as a presenter, and it taught me lessons. One I remember, it was in one of the universities not far from Moscow, and they invited a speaker with a certain topic. And I asked why they chose this topic, and they said, oh, our teachers are so interested in this topic. I said, okay, all right, we'll go and see. Yeah. So I prepared my topic, I'll prepare the presentation, I'll prepare the training session. And I was there in a big audience. It's more than 50 teachers, probably up to 70 teachers. First of all, I realized some of them were not English teachers, and my presentation was in English. Yeah, they didn't understand me. Okay, that was one failure from the very beginning. The second one was I realized halfway through that they had no interest in this topic at all. They don't teach those types of classes that I was talking about. It's a classic situation when a supervisor thinks that they need it and the teachers don't need it at all. And because that was the context that I was unfamiliar with, I faced a situation where I couldn't do anything, and it was a big disaster. I didn't feel really good, and I felt it, and halfway through you can't change the topic. All of a sudden.
Yeah, it's a bit too much.
That was a bit disappointing, and I didn't feel very good about it. So these sorts of things are really demotivating. So that's why it's nice to know your audience, of course. It's nice to be flexible, but sometimes it's impossible to be entirely flexible in terms of like changing everything.
Okay, that's why you organize your own conference, right? To know the people.
Well, there are lots of surprises there, but at the conference, of course, and we don't know everybody, but we know the profile, the teachers who usually attend these events. So I hope we'll meet your expectations, guys.
Thank you. You've been here for 19 years. Yeah, by here I mean BKC all over the world, I guess. Yeah.
Well, no, international houses all over the world. Yes, BKC is part of it.
Yeah. So, but you did some teacher training abroad as well. And here, I mean, 19 years, like it's a very interesting period of time for our country. Yeah, and also in teacher training. So, can you say that ELT in Russia changed, or is still the same, or I don't know?
Well, of course, I can't. I can't say for sure that. Oh yeah, I know the answer, and these are the changes 1, 2, 3.
Okay, next question.
Observations. So first of all, well, my observations are based on the teachers who come to our courses and who we deal with, both in the school and outside the BKC school. And what I noticed in terms of changes, teachers are much more professional now, and since they are much more professional, they know more, they're interested in many things, they've done lots of things, even when they come to an initial course, like initial qualification course like CELTA. It is supposed to be initial qualification, but the teachers who we get here, I can't say they're beginner teachers. Some of them are very experienced teachers, and they have the starting point which is much higher than when I did my CELTA in 2000. So they're much more professional, they're much better informed, they're much better educated as educators, if you see what I mean, again, teacher training. They are very often more serious and more experienced, and they're more diverse as well, like in terms of their experience, the diverse experience, which is great. At the same time, they're more demanding. They expect a much more advanced course, for example, or much more advanced input. And it's also nice because it pushes us to develop, the trainers. We need to meet their expectations. So in this sense, yes, let's say the teacher profile has changed.
Any ideas why?
Well, because we got access to so many opportunities, you know, and people go. Networking has changed, and people now communicate with others. They go abroad. Again, these international conferences and speakers coming to Russia. Literature that we have access to, YouTube videos or whatever. It's much more difficult to navigate, though, in this. In the range of opportunities that we get. That's another thing, that people sometimes get lost in terms of, okay, what can I do? There are so many opportunities, what should I do? So in this sense, it's a bit more difficult, more challenging, like tricky.
I see.
You know, there are many more teachers nowadays who are very ambitious. And in this, I mean, ambitious is not bad. Again, it's a positive word, in English at least. You can be ambitious and you know, set goals and achieve them. Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. But some teachers, they become over ambitious and they think that professional development is ticking boxes. You know, okay, I've done my CELTA, I've done my this and that, and now, okay, as soon as possible, I should do my Delta. Oh, yeah, I must do it immediately after. So I think there is something about it that people should start reflecting upon. You need some time to just get experience, go to the field, get your hands dirty, let's say, okay? Teach the children, teach the adults, teach these classes, those classes. I mean, do your job before ticking boxes and thinking that just a diploma or some kind of qualification gives you this professional development. Professional development is all about what is happening slowly and gradually and growing inside you. It's not about finishing an intensive course, getting your paper, and okay, I'm there.
Yeah, sure.
So this is something that I would like to recommend young teachers, young ambitious teachers, start thinking about.
A bit greasy even, you know?
Yeah, the collectors, you know, okay, so how many papers do I have? How many conferences have I spoken?
Yeah, but also, I mean, there are so many interesting, so also I think there's the other side, so many interesting things happening. So this fear of missing out, you know? So it's like, and so many things you want to attend. And,
that's why you probably sometimes need to stop and think. Maybe you need some advice, maybe you need to discuss it with a colleague, with a peer, with a mentor, I don't know, something, discuss your path, because professional development is not about ticking boxes. Professional development is, well, essentially, is a goal that you set, a path that you set, and having the action plan, how to achieve the goal that you're setting. And this action plan should include some time to reflect, some time to think, some time to practice, try out. Not only learning or running around to different, you know, training courses or conferences or workshops or something.
Right.
So it's all about you.
Yeah.
It's not about the presenter, who is probably a big name, but you know, it's still about you.
Yeah, I see. Speaking of professional development and career and teacher's career, so you've had this amazing career. What's your next step then?
No.
Is there? I mean, you're thinking of your professional development still. Like, are you attending conferences? You organize conferences? Yeah. But
I think one of the interviews with Polina, actually, I answered this question, and I like my answer. I still believe in it.
Yeah.
She asked me something about that, about careers and everything. You know, in many spheres, careers are vertical.
Yeah.
You kind of, you know, step by step, you go up. I believe that in our field, in ELT, most careers are horizontal.
Right.
It's not about like the hierarchy. It's about the variety. And I think for teachers, professional development is mostly about doing different things. And here, there are endless opportunities, to be honest. Like, for example, you can teach children, you can teach different ages, okay? If you like teaching children and if you want to develop there, you can start developing materials for children, right? You can start teacher training for children, for teachers who teach children, obviously. Or maybe for children as well, I don't know, or for parents, God knows. Different, new spheres. Then you can think about, okay, teaching for exams or becoming an examiner, for example. Having, you know, all those online courses that people are very keen on. Again, developing programs for that, designing materials for that. You can step into educational management if you want to. Again, there are lots of directions there. Like what kind of course you teach. Maybe you teach CELTA, or maybe not, or maybe you do like practical workshops or some intensive trainings for God knows what, for managers, for teachers of very young learners. That's what I find really fascinating about it. So the careers are not vertical, the careers are horizontal.
I see. So still about you. So what are you interested right now then, and what do you think, how your sphere of interest might shift? Or
I don't have the answer.
Yeah. So teacher training for now.
I like, okay. So if you think about like another horizontal step, is probably more course design.
courses.
Like last year, I think we introduced a new course for educational managers and teacher trainers, Introduction to Educational Management.
Wow.
So that was the course that we designed. Now my colleagues are working on a course on discourse and pronunciation, for example. So these are just a few examples. I know these ideas. We are quite creative. We're all creative. Teachers are creative. Teacher trainers are creative too, by the way, sometimes.
Of course.
Of course. So we invent those things when we want really to pass on some expertise, some knowledge, some experience. Yeah, we like it.
I see. So course design for now.
Oh yeah, why not? Yeah. No, we've determined that.
Please write it down.
Yeah, write it down.
And I'll check next year.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you for answering that. And as you mentioned, there's so many, career, like professional areas to explore. Yeah, so many CPD to do. And we do have lots of opportunities which are free, or like some courses you have to pay for. Like for example, Delta is rather expensive,
Quite expensive.
isn't it?
It's a commitment.
Or MA and something. So, but still there are so many free webinars by different publishers, by different schools, etc. So, do you think like it's possible to become a really professional teacher without like ever attending any paid? Not too many paid workshops.
But investment, you know, realistically, without investing a penny, I don't think it's possible.
Right.
But you don't have to invest like huge amounts of money. Without investing huge amounts of money, let's put it this way, you can still become quite a competent and well-developed teacher, let's say, or teacher trainer. As I said a little bit earlier, 5 minutes ago, it's important to set a clear objective for yourself. Without an objective, you can do 500 free webinars or read 500 books, but it's going to be scattered, it's going to be chaotic, it's going to be ad hoc, you know. So this is less developmental, let's say, than having a clear path or a clear, at least, area that you want to explore, and then finding ways, having a plan, if you like. I'm a planner. Okay, so if you like, having a planner. If you can't do it yourself, maybe you're not experienced enough, or you just need the second opinion or somebody's expertise, then you can ask for advice, or just discuss it with a person who you trust, a professional who you trust, and then develop this plan. Then it is much more focused, and you spend less money, less time, so you do it more efficiently, more effectively, rather than trying to, jump on anything that you see free. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, or pay.
Yes.
So it's a little bit like grocery shopping with a list.
With a list. Oh yeah.
So
that's
you're that kind of person.
Metaphor. Not for my professional development though, but for activities. Yes, I am that sort of person. Yeah. For professional development, I think I don't follow my advice so much. I know. But I think it's good advice, okay? But
it is good advice. Yeah.
With anything, there should be balance.
Yeah.
And you can't say, I do everything according to the plan. It's boring. Sometimes something pops up. You haven't planned it.
Oh, yeah.
But it might be this is the thing that if it pops up and it kind of resonates with you, that means deep inside you've been ready for that. Okay. And sometimes those inspirations you catch them and you catch the wave. And then it happens without a plan.
Yeah.
However, I know that you've been ready for
you've been
preparing
planning.
For that. Yes, kind of internal drives, and then you need to listen to your heart, if you like.
And we have
and then you can divert from your plan and forget about it.
But keep counting
this is what
your money.
I sometimes do.
Too.
Right.
I see.
I do count my money, but sometimes I just unexpectedly. Oh yeah, why not try that?
CPD.
Yeah.
I see. I'm a freelancer. So I think
I was freelancer before.
Really. Sorry.
I'm a freelancer in some other capacities as well.
Okay.
So as a DoS, of course, I'm not, but okay.
I see. Actually, my dream, I think after my CELTA, my dream was to work for BKC. This was my big dream. But then, so I was already working for a company, and then didn't happen. So today,
unfortunately,
that's
a shame.
I I'm working here today in a way. So, but still, and I have this community for freelancers, so I do talk, communicate with many freelance teachers, and some of my colleagues and even my husband thinks that I intrude companies and persuade all the employees, to quit their jobs. So be careful with me.
I should
lure them into freelance or something, which is not true exactly. But I think in Russia it's very easy to become a freelancer, freelance teacher. At least the taxes are quite low for us, when you do it legally. So it's not as popular abroad, like in Europe or in England, because it's harder legally. So but now I think it's quite a thing for teachers to go freelance. So is it harder to find good teachers then, because maybe it's more profitable for them to teach on their own?
I think, to be honest, to hire good teachers has always been difficult.
Okay.
It's not
a recent problem.
No. And BKC has been known as a nursery for teachers for many years among the IH schools. So compared to some other IH schools which hire teachers with experience or with a very high credentials or whatever, BKC, we hire teachers who are fresh from CELTA, who have zero experience and stuff like that. And what we do, we are basically investing a lot of efforts to develop them, to help them grow in their profession. And after a couple of years, they are solid enough. And unfortunately, sometimes they leave, move on. Sometimes they stay. Okay, so different stories. But what I'm saying. Anyway, even for a starter teacher, beginner teacher, they still have to have something, and this something is a desire to develop and to learn. Okay, so if they have that, it's not a problem. So in a year, even they become quite competent as teachers, and then they of course continue. Answering your question, maybe I didn't answer your question.
Not yet, to be honest.
It has always been difficult to find good teachers and to hire good teachers. What is more difficult, in my opinion, is not to hire a good teacher, but to retain teachers. Yes. You need to keep them motivated because, as I said, we move horizontally, and we want to try this and try that, and not any organization can provide everything that the teacher wants, and that's normal. People move on, people travel, people try different things. I don't think it's harder now, to be honest. I don't think so. Maybe it's my personal perception, but I haven't noticed it.
Even with the retention rates haven't changed much.
No.
Maybe just so that's what my answer to my husband is that some people are happier within the company.
I think yes, just preferences. To be honest, the retention level of higher management, like top management, educational management in our company is much better now than years before. I remember the first year of me being an DoS, Assistant Director of Studies. We had a team, wonderful, great people, fantastic. Then everybody went on holiday, and in September everybody comes back, and I can see only a few familiar faces.
Really?
Yes, and all the rest have changed over summer. So
what kind of holiday was that? Where did they go?
No. That was a normal practice. So you have a new
September,
team of teachers, a new team of DoSes at BKC. Now we have some fresh blood, which is always nice in our educational management team, but it's not as high percentage as before.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's a great change.
Yeah.
So I think my final question will be not for the teachers, maybe for the students, because again, as teachers, we have so many CPD opportunities, and our students, the people who are looking for a teacher or a school, they have so many schools to go to. They have so many tutors that Profiru, or I don't know, somewhere, or some friend who has a friend who is an English teacher, stuff like that. So, I don't know, as a teacher trainer and as a director of studies, you must know how to choose a teacher or a school. Could you, I don't know, recommend something? Like, if you were looking for a tutor, how would you do that? Where would you go? What would you ask?
Well, because I'm in the sphere, of course, I would ask for recommendations. People who I trust. So they might be, again, if I'm looking for a language teacher, maybe not an English teacher, but I was looking for a German teacher like a couple of years ago. So I was asking my colleagues basically, okay, so do you know anybody, and what is she like, what is he like, whatever. So recommendations, definitely. If you don't have people who can recommend, or maybe their recommendation is very subjective and not really based on some professional knowledge or whatever, then okay, qualifications mean something to me. I know that those qualifications like CELTA and something similar like Trinity or TEFL qualifications, where they have a practical component, it doesn't guarantee that the teacher is good, of course not, but this is a starting point. This is where you probably, there is a potential there, at least, okay? So at least the person has invested in that, at least they had some training, whatever. It's not of course a guarantee that you get a wonderful teacher whenever they show you a certificate. No. That's why you need some other criteria, of course, obviously, yeah. I think if you are looking for a very narrow specialist, for example, if you have kids who are 3 years old, I wouldn't be looking for somebody with a delta. Or I wouldn't employ myself, for example, if I were the parent of this kid, because it's not my narrow area, okay? You need to look for teachers who are working with these kids. The same about exams, for example. If the teacher doesn't know anything about IELTS or something else,
how would you know if the teacher knows or not? Well,
here you need to trust. You can check, of course. You can ask to show them their. I don't know how to show that in a CV or something, or maybe again look at their profile in the social media if they have it. There is no. You can't really be 100% sure about anyone. But I think there is one criterion which is quite subjective. However, it helps. You meet this person, or if this is a teacher for your children, so try to organize a meeting with the children and see how the interaction goes. You know, you will feel the vibes. You will see whether your kid is going to get on with that person. Again, if it happened during the first meeting, it's a great sign, because for many classes it's really the personalities that attract.
Yes, it's true, isn't it?
No, it's not about the methods. It's not so much about, oh, okay, it helps and everything, but it's not about that so much. I've seen situations where the teacher was not overqualified, but okay, very, very well qualified and very experienced and a great expert. They didn't get on with the student. They couldn't stay longer.
Okay? I see.
So especially if it is one-to-one class, but in groups as well. So it's an important factor.
Yeah, it always is. It should click.
Hit it off.
Yeah, but right at the first lesson, or would you
give it some time? I would say give a month.
A month.
Yeah, after a month it's more or less clear.
More or less. Yeah, I see.
But sorry, I don't have any magic tricks.
Nobody has. So who do we ask? I mean, it's really hard to find a teacher. So did you find a German teacher?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. Again, it's to a certain extent it's good luck, but I don't think so. I don't think it's only that.
It's not only luck. I see. It's also because I have a feeling that students are when they like committed to the teacher already, they're kind of reluctant of like changing. So there is this thing of for some reason our students think that if something goes wrong, it's their fault, not the teacher's fault.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, many students think another way around.
Yeah, really.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They blame the teacher.
They blame the teacher.
Yeah. Parents might blame the teacher.
Parents,
yeah, that also happens. Another thing, a more objective, let's say, indicator for a language teacher.
Yeah.
I would say if you spoke most of the time, or you did something, you were involved most of the time in the lesson, it's a good sign. So this is something like the percentage.
This is more specific now.
Yeah, it's more specific. Yeah, it's during the lesson, of course. It's not before you hire the teacher, because you can't really judge. But in the lesson, if you could see that the teacher is either speaking a lot and basically hijacking the conversation, or there's silence in class, then and you're just doing grammar exercises, that's probably a sign of a less effective teacher. For some contexts this might be all right, but for a writing class, for example, okay. But in most cases, if you want to communicate in a language, you need to communicate. Yes, you're learning to speak when you speak.
Yeah, true.
Learning by doing.
Yeah, so you should be doing most of the job during the class. It means that the teacher is
doing the right job.
Doing the right, the teacher is not lazy, the teacher is working.
Exactly.
That's what you need to remember. Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you very much.
I'll be looking forward to your talk at the conference. So see you like very soon again. Very soon.
Yeah. Oh my God, very soon.
Oh, worried.
Of course. We're all nervous, but we're inviting everybody to our conference, and we are looking forward to it as well. Thank you, Anita. Very interesting questions.
Thank you, Olga.